Hi guys, so in today's video I'm going to show you my jumping rounds on Tyra at our recent show Rosé in May, which was at the Paso Robles Horse Park. It was a wonderful show and it was Tyra's first B-rated hunter jumper show, so I showed her in the 2-3 hunter over fences classes and she was phenomenal. So we're going to go ahead and start off with a little video of how I warmed her up, and then I'll dive into the jumping rounds and kind of give you some critiques of the jumping rounds, what I think we need to work on, where I might have been able to ride better, and such and such. But I'm overall very proud of her. She did a great job, especially being her first time at a rated show. And we ended up with a 4th place on one of our rounds. Right now I'm not remembering which one it is, but when we get to the round, she got 4th place and I'll let you know. Our other 2 rounds, we unfortunately didn't place, but the classes were pretty big. And again, I was more focused on making sure she had nice, clean rounds and had a good experience than necessarily hoping that we would win. Of course, we all want to win, but this is her first time at a rated show at this level. So let me go ahead and show you how she did, and I'll explain what kind of was going on. All right, so this is our warm-up before our first hunter class. So I did a little bit of warm-up before we started recording, but I'm basically just making sure that she's gonna be slow and steady and responding. So you can see I'm doing some walk on in the hand. Tyra does tend to like to root a bit in the walk, so I've been trying to practice that a lot with her just so that we don't have that happen at the show, and luckily it really didn't, so she was very good. Here I'm just walking around, and then I go ahead and pick up a trot. And same thing, I'm just asking her to stay really steady, even, making any corrections that I need to make, but trying to ensure that she's gonna be steady and with me without having to make a lot of corrections. So you can see I am using my hand, but not a whole lot. I'm not really having to hold her. I'm not having to do anything dramatic, and that's what we're really looking for in the hunter ring, of course, is for a horse that kind of goes along without a lot of adjustments. So I'm very happy with this trot. It could be a tad slower, I think, but I know if I start asking her to go slower, I'm gonna lose everything else. So this is the happy medium. Hunters are about showing the best side of your horse. So if your horse goes better just a tad quicker, you're better doing that than sacrificing everything else. So we moved up into the canter. It was a lovely transition. I apologize in the background, my dogs are playing. And you can see how she's nice and steady in this canter. I'm having to do very little adjustment, making a little circle here, and just making sure that she's staying really soft and light and between my aids. And we did canter the other way, but I don't have that on video. So this was our warm-up, and then I'll go ahead and show you our first jumping round. All right, before we go into our first jumping round, so in this jumping round, we had an approach across the diagonal, and I went ahead and made the choice to go into the ring on my left hand and kind of cheat that diagonal to not have to make a lead change over the first fence, which I stand by that decision. I think it was a good decision for this round. But if I had to guess, it's probably why we didn't place in this particular class, because I think the judge would have rathered see us come around on the right hand and make that lead change over the first fence. Now, I wanted to make sure that Tyra's first fence was really easy simple. She didn't have any mishaps, because I feel like if her first fence had been hard for her and she had struggled with it, that would have set the tone for the rest of our classes at the whole show. So my priority was just making sure that that first fence went well so we could build on it and have a good course, even if that meant sacrificing a bit in the beginning. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys, because I know some of you, especially those of you that do the hunters, are kind of going to look at my approach and be like, why did you do that? So that's why I did it, and you can see how the rest of the course played off. I think it was a good move, because she did kind of come up to that first fence and really want to back off of it. I had to give her a little tap with the crop to encourage her, and then she got a little rushy after, and I think if we'd had to deal with a lead change on top of it, it would have just been a little overwhelming for her. Anyway, let me go ahead and show you that round. Alright, so going into the ring, I pretty much immediately pick up a trot, try to get her attention, as I know in the walk Tyra was going to get pretty distracted. And then I did wait to pick up my canner, because she was kind of wanting to look around, and I was a little worried she might give me the wrong lead because she wasn't really paying attention. So we don't do a ton of canner coming into our first fence, and already here she's starting to look at it. So I do give her a little tap with the crop, which gives us an awkward long spot. We landed a little disorganized, but she nicely comes back in the corner and we're able to move on, so that is really nice. She's using her space well, staying fairly steady through this. We did get that little lead swap, but at least coming out of the line, she fixed it again. Overall, with this course, I'm very happy with the pace she's maintaining, but our distances are a little bit off. So here again, she's getting a little quick, so we got a little bit long out of that line. But she's at least coming back nicely in this corner. Here, I know we're going to get a bad distance. I'm trying to half halt her. Didn't get enough half halt, so we ended up getting the long spot. But jumping out of the line was really nice. And then again, coming around this corner, trying to keep that pace nice and steady. We get a little bit long. But at least she's getting her leads, so that part's nice. And then here we kind of fall on the shoulder and get a little racy. But she comes back quickly on this closing circle. The biggest complaint I have about this closing circle, she doesn't really want to come back to the trot. Alright, so that first round, I'm very pleased that she was game for all the fences. I was a little worried about how backed off she could be. And overall, the pace was pretty good, but you could see we got some kind of long spots. There wasn't really enough room to chip those, although I tend to prefer a chip on Tyra because she likes the chip better. So it's just, we got our leads, the pace wasn't too bad, but it was a little disorganized. We weren't really super consistent, and that was a little unfortunate. So going into our second course of the day, my plan was to really try to focus on getting better distances without losing that pace. So let me go ahead and show you what happened on that course. All right, so once again, I'm going down the line by the judges' booth with a nice smooth trot, and then we're gonna go ahead and pick up the canner. Probably could have picked up the canner a little bit sooner, but I just wasn't really feeling like she was going to give me a clean change. So here we're coming across the opposite diagonal. I'm very pleased with this pace. Our line to this first fence was a little bit wiggly though. Got a nice change over it. I do think we might be a little bit quick, but at least she's staying consistent, at least for this part of the course. Nice distance, trying to keep her steady. That was a little bit long. And then we didn't get a clean change. So we're going around that whole part of the ring with a bad change. Got a nasty chip there. You can see we're kind of derailing in this course. Got a little bit long. Now we're very fast, a little bit bronky. Better through this line. Jumped out of it nicely, got our lead back. She's awfully consistent wanting to switch leads through that line. Then we come across this diagonal, nice distance. Again, I think we're a touch on the quick side, but at least we jumped out of it a little bit better. And it takes me a long time to bring that canter back on this closing circle. So again, I don't really get to the trot like I should, because instead I'm trying to bring our canter back to a decent pace.
We just witnessed his second USHG.
All right, so that was our second course on Thursday, and that course got us a 4th place in the class. Now you're probably surprised because compared to the first course, that was a hot mess. So basically we made that mistake on, I think it was like the second or the third fence, and Tyra kind of fell apart after that, and it took me until our very last line to get her back together. We had an issue with the leads. We had a little bit of humpy, bronky nonsense on one of the short sides. And then our whole pace overall was a bit quick. So if we were judging those two courses in the same class, the first course absolutely would have been the winner of the two. So I'm left to assume that predominantly people did much better in their first round and then totally ruined their second round, because that's what we did, and somehow we placed much better in that second round. So I wasn't very happy with that, but again, it's a learning opportunity and just kind of highlight some things we need to work on, getting those changes cleaner, keeping the consistent pace. And then I think the big problem with this course is that once things started to go badly, they just kind of spiraled out of control. And that is something we've been working on a lot at home, that when something happens, we need to be able to sit up and move on, not just wallow in that falling apart. And Tyra likes to get fast and low in the front, and kind of everything starts to go. So I was able to get her back in the course, which a few weeks ago probably would have been a challenge, but it took way longer than it should have. So going into Friday, my focus was really nailing that pace down, and then also getting cleaner changes, because those late changes really weren't helping us. So let's go ahead and see how she did on Friday.
Adjustments have been made. Up next, our 2'3" USHJ Hunter Division. Single round to C, 20 rounds. Our first is the C here, 361. 361 is the number card for Nabokovia. Entry of Mariana Ellen of Saratoga, shown by Stephanie Walker.
All right, so you can see I again didn't do an opening circle because our first fence is pretty far away, but we did a nice little trot, and then we have a nice long canter approach to our first fence on the diagonal. I'm very pleased with this pace we have coming in. And the first fence, a little bit chippy, but not too bad. I wish I'd been able to get my hip back, because I feel like I made that look a lot more awkward than it actually was. Still keeping that nice steady pace. Nice spot to the green. Little bit chippy coming out, but not bad. Unfortunately, she didn't get her hind lead, so there we are late behind, but at least she didn't make a big fuss about it. Nice spot through this white. We did a little swap through the white again, a little bit long going out and then a little scrambly, but thank goodness she does come back into the corner, which I think is the most important thing. There again, slightly chippy, so I tried to hold, and we jump out of it a lot better because I didn't want to chip out of it again. So I believe that was an add in that line, but I'd rather add and keep it smooth than get these really awkward spots. Really nice into that fence, long into that last fence in the line, but looked very steady and smooth. So again, not too unhappy with it. And this is our closing circle. And then we went ahead and came back into a trot. I was able to bring her back into a trot a little bit quicker this time than the last round. So we had a little bit of a better closing circle, and you can see I struggled coming into the walk a little bit. All right, so that round I am very happy with. The distances could have been a little bit better. If I want to nitpick, we had some chippy moments. We had that one sort of long moment, but really none of it was very extreme. It's not like we took off feet away from where we needed to, or we like completely missed our distance and buried ourselves in the fences. Overall, the distances were not bad. The biggest problem with that course was the late behind change. I'm proud of Tyra that she did stay steady and focus on trying to fix that lead. We didn't have any antics. We didn't have any drama. She just couldn't quite get her back feet organized. So I'm very happy with that round. Unfortunately, of the 20 rounds in that class, we didn't end up placing. So that's unfortunate, because I do think it was our best round out of the 3 we did at this show. But going forward, I'm just really happy we had that round, and I'm hoping that we can build on it as we go into future shows. The hope would be to move Tyra up into the 2-6 class pretty soon, and eventually get her into those 3-foot hunters, which she's more than capable of doing. She just can get backed off at shows, and so I really entered her in the 2-3, thinking, well, 2-3 is so easy, she can do this in her sleep. And I think that was a great choice, because you can see throughout all these courses, she wasn't worried about the fences. Just the new environment got her a little bit, but she was able to focus and get her job done. So again, very pleased, excited to come back at it at our next show and see if we can improve on some of those things.